Hi, I'm Linda Fox, Senior Reporter, PhocusWire. I'm in the PhocusWire studio at the Phocuswright Conference, and I'm delighted to welcome Luuc Elzinga. He's president and founder of Tiqets, losing my words already, and Stephen Oddo, and he's president of Walks and Devour. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
So let's start with Douglas Quimby of Arrival. He had a really interesting LinkedIn post this week talking about unit economics in tours and activities. And he was saying that he thinks there's going to be an exit next year. So just give me your thoughts. Luuc, kick us off.
Well, I think, unit economics become more and more important. And we've seen it in our company, not only growth, but also showing the right dynamics under to build a really good company. And I think it makes sense, right? If you build a company, you want to build a profitable company. And you see that also from our perspective, that we keep the growth, but we really have the good unit economics, have profitable months next year, and break even profitable. So
Right.
that is really good, I think, in the sense of making an industry more mature and viable in a bigger set of the space we're living in.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a pretty fragmented space on the operator side. So obviously on the OTA side, I think there's a lot more pressure for margins to get going. But as an operator, we're still tons of competition. So it's a little bit harder to kind of own that channel and make sure that you can maximize your margin at this point. I don't think we're not quite there yet as operators. Still plenty of rooms to go, but
Plenty of room, yeah.
So I think, just talking about some of the players in the space, Tiqets, Get Your Guide, TripAdvisor, they've all said profitability next year. Is that purely driven by the kind of boom in experiences, or are there other factors at play?
Well, I think what we see in general, there's a high growth. The market's changing from offline to online. Macroeconomics change the behavior of choosing experience above goods. So there is a real dynamic of high demand. But I think also it requires that you have to have a good business model that generates money to build a good company. So I think, those market dynamics also with different financial markets driving you much more towards profitability as to become a sustainable company over time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And obviously Viator had a great quarter. Their numbers are up and up and up. Great Your Guide as well. And I think some of that's still like the honeymoon phase post-COVID. People are still, surging in demand for experiences.
Yeah.
How long that will hold, anyone's guess. But it does seem that, they're riding the tailwinds. And they invested a lot on the right things during the pandemic to come out running like they are now.
Okay. Interesting. So I appreciate that Airbnb has invested in Tiqets, so probably not too much you can say. But I am interested just in what Brian Chesky has said about there being room for a big experiences play, given that there are quite a few players in the category. Do you see that opportunity?
Absolutely. I think we're in the middle of it, right? So I think, we're talking about maybe a 300 billion, but maybe even a 1.4 trillion market, right? So there is room for a big player that has a really good consumer proposition. And when you can operate at that scale, I think, then there is room for a 100 billion player. Absolutely.
And Airbnb is really well positioned for that, no question. I mean, so far, I think experiences is kind of finding its place at Airbnb, but I'd love to see them innovate a bit more. And the $100 billion opportunity doesn't necessarily have to be an OTA. Walks is part of the Hornblower Group. We're one of the largest global transport and experiences companies. So, we're already seeing large players emerging on both sides, whether it's, OTAs, which there's plenty of really great ones, and operators as well.
Why hasn't it happened yet?
Sorry?
The big play, the big tours and activities company. Why hasn't it happened yet?
I think it is happening, right?
Yeah.
And it is so much harder from building from scratch the whole infrastructure, the pipes, adopting ResTech from an operator standpoint.
Yeah.
I think we've put tremendous amount of money together in it. It helped us all to grow in the past decade. So it's going to happen now, and maybe a little bit slower than some might expect. I think we're doing pretty good.
Okay.
I mean, you mentioned ResTech. I think, we're still about 10 years behind if you look at accommodations, capabilities, what people are doing. So part of it's that, and part of it, I think, is the customer. Like they're not demanding an online experience for everything. So most people say somewhere between 25 to 50% of experiences are still bought offline. So until the customer shifts all the way or more, it's going to be harder to scale up. But every year, a little bit more comes online.
A bit more share, yeah.
Companies like Tiqets.
Yeah. the loyalty, the idea of a loyalty initiative in experiences. I saw what Viator is testing. Is that viable? Is that interesting?
I think over time, where you really are, moving and solving the chick-egg issue if it comes to supply, absolutely. And especially if you think about, that people are doing also interesting, nice stuff in weekends when they're not traveling. I think, loyalty and travel has always been a pressurized and there's been tension. Although, if you can be relevant also in weekends with a museum visit or something else.
Yeah, something local as well as when you travel.
Exactly. Yeah. I think then it makes even more sense, right? If it comes to loyalty and loyalty programs.
Yeah.
Whether you're an OTA or an operator, cost of acquisition is really high. So you want to retain that customer as much as possible, and you want to increase repeat rate, as all of us are focused on. So
good point.
We have a loyalty program at City Experiences. Any of the products that we have in our portfolio are part of that program. You can earn points and redeem them. And we do see it actually has an impact. So it's still growing, but it's something that we do already and we're focused on.
Okay, let's talk about generative AI for a few minutes. What are the areas of opportunity in tours and experiences for generative AI? Stephen, kick us off.
There's so many. The easiest right now is the stuff we're already doing. So we have pricing through an AI-based tool. I think there's a lot in the content side. So MarTech can really take advantage of improving content and really about consistency, right? So I'm sure whenever you have thousands of listings, going through that manually is expensive and it takes time. So that's a big place. There's companies like Magpie, Location Engine that are adding these tools to make it easier for companies to continually update and enrich their data without having to, have it manually reviewed all the time. So things like that, I think, are the most obvious use cases.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. So the efficiency part, I think, is an important one where everybody taps in, as it is, the easiest one on the surface. I think, the real opportunities are also in personification of content and really give an immersive experience to everything we want to do, right? Mm-hmm. My experience in the Louvre should be something else than my son of 11.
Yes.
And also something else for my daughter of 9. They are the same children, but they are totally having different mindsets.
Yeah.
So I think there is such a huge opportunity to elaborate on that and build products in order to get and improve the whole experience.
And that could also drive value and conversion at the front end, couldn't it?
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because you can imagine if we can present the experiences better and immerse people while they're in that sort of booking phase, then it's going to convert.
Yeah. So the sort order, etc., but also the experience itself.
Yeah.
You could really create a better experience.
Bring it to life for each member of the family. Very good. Now, anything else you see happening in the segment in 2024?
Well, I think in the industry, as Tiqets, we're really heads down, right, in executing to become bigger, more profitable, and act on a global scale. I think that is a good thing, right? It's not that sexy, but it's really delivering value, and it's delivering a way that you can, innovate beyond that by having a really disciplined playbook. So, and I think that's the thing you will see in the market in the coming year.
So more kind of incremental improvement, which ultimately affects the bottom line. Yeah,
more AI, more personification, but also more, heads down to make sure we deliver on the promise to give real great experiences.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. And, for me, I think the answer for 2024, or the question might be Google. What's happening with Google? They've done a lot of changes in 2023, but it only seems to just kind of be evolving every day more and more. And the things to do segment at Google is becoming a bigger part of what we do as an operator. And I'm sure for OTAs, it's quite relevant as well.
Well, let's skip to my questions on Google because you bring it up. So its role, as you say, it is evolving all the time. It brings products to market all the time. It brings pressure to every single travel player. Google Maps, again, they just layer more and more on. It's super interesting from a consumer perspective. So can it kind of do some of the things that the industry hasn't been able to do so far? Aggregate, present, convert, all of those things?
I think they're doing a good job of it already. It's got a long way to go. Google Maps seems to be evolving to kind of a super app for travel.
Right.
And, I think there's opportunities for operators and OTAs to kind of coexist in a way that maybe the old ads model wasn't really servicing operators as well. So it kind of gives them another crack at getting awareness as an operator. And obviously part of that is you have to be adopting the tools we talked about earlier, ResTech and et cetera, to be competitive there. But I think it's good for everyone.
Okay.
Yeah, I fully agree. And I also think, the underlying technology to make sure that the things you are seeing on Google are also directly available.
Yeah.
Right. So and that is often an underestimated thing, right? So you see maybe on maps there is the Vatican Museum, but in the end, if you can't book it, it's a useless thing.
Right. And integration is fundamental.
Exactly.
Yeah. Interesting about mergers and acquisition activity in the segment in the past really the past 6 months. I mean, was Resdi, Rejondo, a bit of a roundup there.
Yeah.
More of that smaller type M&A, or
well, could definitely
is
be
it necessary?
Right? In that area, yeah.
Yeah.
I would say that was a smart move on the consolidation of some of those res techs that had so much overlap and a lot to offer and great customers across it, but they can be a lot more efficient as one. I think so. That makes a lot of sense.
Okay. Yeah.
But,
very good. One final question. Attracting new audiences. I know where to go and book tickets, and I know where to go and book books and devour. But I'm not sure my son would think of your respective brands. So how do we get these audiences in? Are we going to go across TikTok and all these other Instagram and all these other channels?
Yeah, I think we're super excited about all these new opportunities, but I think there's also an ecosystem that is really diving into that. Guys from @Hotel, right? Which do a lot with the hotel and with
on
content
Instagram,
and Instagram.
it's interesting what they're doing.
TikTokers really that are really building a relationship with their audience.
Yeah.
So we let also the market do it. Where in the end, it's also about, are you then able to book it? So we partner with thousands of these smaller companies that drive suddenly a huge amount of volume. And I think that's really interesting what you see and how that develops over time.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to say Walks and Devour are finally on TikTok.
Yay!
And we're, but we've been doing influencer marketing since really the beginning. That was part of what propelled our company at the beginning. And you mentioned @Hotel. I think they're a great example of how the power of social commerce and how to leverage that for traffic and conversion. So you have to be clever, and working with influencers is a big part of our sales channel.
Okay. Luuc, Stephen, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.